Hey everyone, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make organic and textured music like Jon Hopkins and Fortet. As usual, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all that stuff in this video in the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, this is already available. And yeah, let's dive in. So, the first sound we have here is this little granulator thing, which sounds like this. So what this is a vocal sample. Just this kind of like glitchy thing that I put in here, and then I put it into the granulator, which is a granular synthesizer. If you don't know what that is, it's essentially kind of like a sampler where it plays back a sample, but a sampler would just play from start to finish. This plays it like all over the sample. You can see that yellow line moving around. That is what granular synthesis does. So this gives you a really cool sound when you have a sound like this, which has a bunch of different notes in it. You can just have it jumping around. And then you control that with the spray knob here. When you turn that up, you get more of it. When you turn it down, you get less. So we got it about there. You can see it's just playing one note through. And yeah, and then for effects on there, I just have a little bit of saturation, just to give it a little bit more texture, kind of make it a bit fatter. And then just a compressor side chaining it to the kick. And also have a very small amount of a low pass on there. If I turn this off, you can hear it's really just cutting off like the very high highs. I talked about this a lot in a lot of the lo-fi videos I used to make. Essentially, if you're trying to get these kind of more like warm analog sort of sounds, cutting off a very slight amount of high end like that can really do a good job, because it will make it a little bit darker, as you can hear, in a very subtle way. The key to this nice kind of like warm analog feel is subtleties, not, just throwing a bunch of distortion on it and cutting out all the highs, but doing subtle stuff like this. And yeah, really simple sound, just very dry, very clean, kind of like how Fortet would do it. And yeah, the next sound that we have here is the bass, which sounds like this. So here's the bass line. You can see it's pretty simple. We are in C sharp minor. And you can see, it's pretty simple. It's just playing notes in the key. For the sound on this one, it's made using operator. This is also very simple. A lot of simple stuff in this track. You can see with this one, it's just some FM using 3 sine waves here. I've got the second one detuned a little bit. And yeah, and then I just got a little bit of drum bass on that just to fatten it up and, make it really stand out in the track. And then a compressor just side chaining it to the kick. Bassline is very simple with the style. You want to kind of keep it out of the way of everything else, because there's a lot going on, like with the drums and stuff like this. So if you have a bass line that's too crazy and doing too much in a track like this, it's not really going to work. You need to keep it very simple and clean like this and just filling out the low end. The next sound that we have here is this little synth atmosphere thing, which sounds like this. So here are the notes for this. I'll turn off this echo so you can kind of hear what's going on. Basically, it's just playing this over and over and over again, and then we've got some effects on here which are kind of making it more like an atmosphere. So I'll just go from the ground up on the sound here. The first thing you can see is we got operator. I've just got 2 sine waves doing some FM, got them at different octaves, and I've got them detuned a little as well, and then I've got a low pass on top of that. And so low pass is just cutting out some high end. Again, makes it a little bit darker and a little bit warmer and more analog sounding. After that, I have a bit of chorus just to spread the sound out, kind of give it a little bit more space, and then we've got this echo. So this is the thing that's really making it kind of like an atmosphere like this. You can hear this just blends all the notes together. I've got it on the ping pong setting, so it's doing different times in each ear, so it's really wide as well, and yeah. Just kind of takes it and makes it more of like an atmosphere like that, as opposed to without it, you can hear each individual note really strongly. After that, I've got a bit of reverb, just giving it even more space. You can see this isn't up too high, but it just gives it that last little bit of space on top of the sound. And then we just have a bit of drum bass to fatten it up. And then the last thing on there is the compressor side chaining it to the kick. And that is it for the synth atmosphere thing. The next thing that we have here is the kick, which sounds like this. So you can hear this is just a deep and very fat kick, really simple stuff. Again, in this style, it's kind of like with the bass. You just wanted to do what you needed to do and not take up a whole bunch of extra space. So we just have this like deep and fat kick like this, like I said. Just kind of playing straight quarter notes. With the sound on this one, you can see there's the kick, and then we just got a bit of drum bass to fatten it up and make it a little bit stronger. And then I have an EQ8 to boost this low end here. This is really helping with the punch and just making the kick a bit stronger as well. And yeah, that is it for the kick. The only other thing I'll say here is you'll notice, like with a lot of the house music and techno that I do, a lot of times I'll have the kick and the bass in a group, but in this case, I actually grouped all the drums together, including the kick. So it's a little bit of a different approach with this style. You know, you kind of want to treat the drums as one thing on their own, as opposed to like with house music or techno, you'd be thinking more about like the low end as a whole. Here I was focused more on just getting all the drums in a group and giving them all that kind of like, you know, textured, warm sound. And you can hear how, like, it's all kind of like distorting off of that kick or getting crunched a little. That's why we put the kick in the group with the rest of the drums. Next thing we have here is this hi-hat, which sounds like this. Really simple stuff, just a hi-hat sample playing on the upbeats. Really nothing too crazy there. Again, just like the kick, it's just kind of like a smaller one that fits on the space it needs to and doesn't take up any extra space. Next thing that we have here is this drum rack with these different break chops, which sounds like this. So what these are, these different chops I have, which you can hear once this loads. So they're just chops from a vinyl drum break. These are really good for this sound. Fortet definitely uses these in like almost every track. And I've heard it a bit in Jon Hopkins music as well. What happens is you take a vinyl drum break, like I said, and just chop it up like this. You get these individual hits and then put them in a drum rack here. And you can just resequence them. And then it's a really nice way to keep it like clean and so it still fits underneath everything else in the track. So yeah, it's very simple. It's just more about kind of getting creative with it. You know, try a few different breaks. Maybe put together chops from different drum breaks. That's a good way to do it. And you know, just keep it simple like this. And the only effect I have on there is just a high pass filter, just cutting out some low end. And yeah, that is it for the break chops. Next thing we got here is the clap, which sounds like this. So you can hear this one again. It's really just more about the type of sound it is. It's just this very nice, like deep, kind of mid-rangey clap, as you can hear. And yeah, really simple. Just got it playing on there on the 2 and 4. And then I have a bit of echo on it. So the echo is on a ping pong setting, and this is just giving it a little bit more space and kind of a bit more life. When you hear that, and it makes it feel like it's not just so one-dimensional. It kind of takes it from just a sample, and like I said, kind of brings it to life. And yeah, after that, the last thing we got here in the drum group is this drum rack, which sounds like this. This just has a few percussions. I've got these. And then I've got these little toms as well, which you may recognize from a lot of Fortet's music. So we just got those in there, and this is just, you know, one extra little bit of percussion. But turn this off, you can hear. It works, but I feel like it needs something a little bit more, something just to give it a little bit more groove and a little bit more swing. And so that's where this comes in. Again, just really simple, just some percussion sounds in a drum rack being sequenced. Nothing too crazy, it just gives it a little bit more of an interesting feel in the mix. And also, the reason why we use the drum rack here is because, like, I talk about this a lot in my videos, but I don't usually like to use the drum rack for all of the drums. I don't think it's really ideal for that. But if you have, like, a few sounds that are in the same place, like in this case, these percussions and the toms, it can really work well to be able to have it all in one place. You can kind of work with it as a loop, as opposed to having these all in different tracks. So yeah, and then I have all the drums in a group. Like I said, just a really great way to kind of crunch it all together and give it that warm feel like you want with this style. So I'll turn off the effects on here and then I'll just explain them and turn them on. Here's without anything. And then with it. So you can see why we got this. The first thing we got here is just a bit of drum bus. Just fattens everything up, gives it a little bit more crunch. I've also got the transients up on there, which is making it punch a little bit harder and hit a little bit more in the mix. Yeah, really simple stuff. I've also got a little bit of the boom on there. You know, when I turn that off, it's just not quite as fat. And the only other effect here is just this EQ8 here, which is boosting the mids as well as boosting the highs a little bit. Just kind of bringing out a little bit more of that, like, punch and crunchy stuff in the mid-range, and then bringing out the sharpness in the highs. And yeah, that is it for the drums. And then the last layer that we have here in this project file is just this vinyl atmosphere sample, which sounds like this. This is really simple. It's just kind of playing in the background. You know, it's a really great way with this type of music to get a more organic and textured sound is to add something like this, because you can hear it makes it feel like you're listening to a record, or like you're hearing like some kind of Foley sound in the background. It really brings the track to life. If I turn it off, you can hear it just feels a little bit more robotic. So yeah. So for effects on there, I've just got a bit of saturation, just helps to kind of beef it up and make it a little bit stronger in the mix. And then we've also got a high pass filter, cutting out some lowing because the saturator can bring up a lot, and also these sounds just tend to have a bit of that. And yeah, that is it for that sound. And that is also going to be it for this video, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all of that stuff from this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there. This is already available. Thank you so much, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.